Today we're talking about programming errors, how they look, what they are, and also how to solve them. Programming errors are issues or defects that occur within a program or cause abnormal behavior. These programming errors can be identified during the program's compilation or execution, and they must be removed to ensure that the program runs smoothly. The late computer scientist Etcher said, "If debugging is the process of removing bugs, then programming must be the process of putting them in." The most common error you will see is probably going to be syntax errors. Computer languages follow grammatical rules, much like human languages do. However, computers are unable to overlook flaws, such as syntactic errors, while humans may speak with less than a perfect grammar. I mostly code in Python, so these are some examples. Missing colon at the end of a def, if, or for statement. For example, here we can see how after the if true, there is no colon there. So just because of that, it will not work, and that produces a syntax error. Missing quotation marks, either both single or both double, around that string. Different number of open and close brackets in a statement. For example, in this one, the first block of it is a normal use of the brackets, starting and finishing your parentheses or anything like that. But the second one is just basically not finishing, which it seems obvious, but sometimes it happens. So whenever that happens, the name of that will be a syntax error. That is the most common and possibly the easiest problem to solve. Now there are some other more complicated errors. The next one is logic errors. Logic errors refer to the program failing to produce the desired output. These ones are more tricky because they let the code run without any noticeable errors. These errors are more difficult to spot because they don't interfere with the running of the code. We have total equal to 0 and count equal to 0, and that's important because count should be essential for you to calculate the average, because that's what you want to divide for. But whenever maybe you're coding a lot of lines and stuff, maybe you can forget about it, and so then you go for the loop and you can miss some things here and there. So it's for numbing numbers, total equals to plus num, and the count to be added each time, so it will count. So then you'll have to divide that to the count, but now we're multiplying for some reason times 2, and that's the code will run perfectly fine, no errors. But there is an actual error, not noticeable. There is a logic error because it should be total divided by count. To prevent these errors, it is good to create pseudocode or to break the code down into small, manageable chunks. The next one in the list is runtime errors. Those are errors that occur while the program is running. These errors occur when a program tries to perform an illegal operation, such as dividing by 0 or attempting to access an invalid memory address. So in this one, for example, we're not really dividing directly to 0, but we're first doing the function, then we're doing the denominator 0, and just, after that, it just happens that when we pass the values in the function, it will divide by 0, so it will be an error. But now we're doing these try-catch blocks that will help to prevent a lot of these issues. To try to avoid this, you can try the try-catch blocks, which are always useful. The next in the list is semantic errors. Semantic errors are errors that occur when the code written by the programmer makes no sense to the compiler. Even though it is syntactically correct, they are different from syntax errors, which they indicate errors in the structure of the program. As semantic errors are related to the meaning and implementation of the program. For example, using a string instead of an integer or accessing an array index that it is out of bounds can cause semantic errors. Uninitialized variables and type incompatibility are other common types of semantic errors. The next one is compilation errors. Some languages need a compilation step, where the higher level language turns into a lower level language. A compilation or compile time error happens when the compiler doesn't know how to turn your code into lower level code. By running the compiler often, you will get more feedback before any more problems arise, so you can know where to tackle the issues. There are also arithmetic errors, resource errors, interface errors. Having errors is something normal and inevitable. We're thankful not to be anymore in those days when we needed perfect punch cards. Try to not let yourself down and know that it is part of the process. That is why debugging is a thing. Debugging is the process of finding and fixing errors or bugs in the source code of any software.